Hi team, good morning. Hope I'm audible. Am I audible, guys? Okay, thank you, Anil. Thank you, Sarfraj. Hmm. All right. So in the last session, you asked me about fragment communication. Correct. We shall see it with a small example. All right. So okay.
Recording in progress.
Okay. We are creating a project. Select empty activity. Hit next. Let's call it fragment communication. Hmm. The package name would be. You also choose the appropriate folder. Sorry, it's a wrong folder. Patch 15, hit OK, put a slash, and then copy these two. Okay. Select Java as the programming language and hit finish so that the project will be created. Here, okay. So we have got main activity. Now what am I going to do? So what we are going to do is on main activity. This is our main activity. Okay. Activity underscore main. We're going to divide this activity underscore main into two equal parts. Okay. In the first part, we will have an edit text box and a send button. Okay. Here, data is entered. And then if you click on send, it should be displayed on the second fragment like this. So the first half will be occupied by fragment 1. The second half will be occupied by fragment 2. If you observe closely, both of them are hosted on the same activity. Correct? That is why what we do is we start communicating with interfaces. Okay. Fragment communication happens in three ways. Can happen in three ways. Through bundle arguments, because in onCreate method you see saved instance state, right? Or bundle object when you are implementing fragment. Through that it can happen. Through interfaces it can happen. And through shared view model also it can happen. We learned about view model. So creating one view model between these two fragments and simply observing the data would help you transfer the data from one fragment to another fragment. We will see how to communicate through interfaces in this session, right? Let us first quickly create two fragments. Let us quickly create two fragments and design the UI. Okay. First, let's design activity underscore main.xml. I want this constraint layout to be divided to two equal parts. So what I will do is I will go to layouts. I will choose layout vertical, drag it and drop it on the screen. This linear layout is actually occupying fullest width and height as of now. So for example, what we do is we'll make it 100 dp and 100 dp. In the same way, we will also select another linear layout, drag it, drop it on the screen. Here also you can make it as 100 dp and 100 dp. Okay, let's drag it a little bit. Now select both the linear layouts, right click, go to chains, create a vertical chain. Nice. For the first for the first linear layout, set the left constraint to left and right constraint to right. Also, make the linear layout to fullest width of the screen. Do the same with the second. Left constraint to left, right constraint to right. That's it. On both the linear layouts, the height can also be made to match constraints. So linear layout 2 is here, linear layout 1 is here. Let us give them IDs. I will say container 1 because this is going to host my fragment. For linear layout, we can say container 2. Nice. So this linear layout will be replaced by the fragment design. Okay. Let's create the first design. So right click on the amp, go to new. How do we create fragment? We all know that. Go to fragment, select fragment blank. Let us call it fragment 1. Nice. Finish. You see, there is a lot of unused code for us. We can remove it along with the comments. That's not needed at all. Leave the constructor, public constructor. And if you see in the onCreate method, there is saved instance state. Through this as well, we can communicate. Remember that point. Okay. So as of now, we rolled the fragment 1 code to normal. Now, if you go to fragment underscore 1.xml, you see that there is a frame layout inside which we have this view. You can convert this frame layout to linear layout by simply right clicking on component tree and hit on convert view. You can choose linear layout and hit on apply. After that, if you jump in onto the attributes after selecting linear layout, you get to see the orientation. The orientation, you can change it to vertical. Nice. I don't need this text view at all. I need an edit text box because I want to let the user enter some data so that the user can send this data to the other fragment. I'd like to change the data text to fragment one data. Hit on refactor. There is some text that is being displayed. You can remove it. Provide some hint to the user. Enter data. Now you can go to buttons, drag and drop a button on the screen. Nice. So button should say OK or send the data. This button should have an ID. We shall say frag1 button. Hit on refactor. Now whatever is the height we have, this design has to be at the center. If that is the case, all you need to do is go to linear layout and choose gravity. Hit on this flag item, select center, apply. Now linear layout need not be so much of mm, yeah, we can leave it like this, no issues. Similarly, we can also create another fragment. You know how to create a fragment? Easy peasy. Fragment, fragment blank. I'm going to call this fragment as fragment 2. It finished to create the fragment 2. You know, you have to remove unused code. A lot of unused code is there. You remove all. Okay, here you can say UV is equal to return V. So did I write it on fragment 1? No. You can write it on fragment 1 also. UV is equal to that and return V. Okay, let us design fragment 2 as well. On fragment 2, you see a frame layout where text view is there. Let us give it an ID. Frag 2 TV. That is the ID given for the text view. Now text view size can be improved. It can be brought to the center of the screen. 24 SB is good, bold, and maroon is bad. Blue color, yeah, blue color, light blue color is good. Also, this has to be at the center of the screen, but it is occupying fullest width and height. Now you can bring it to the center by going to gravity attribute and setting it to the center. Hit apply. Let's convert the view to linear layout. Now you set the gravity attribute on the linear layout. That will bring it down. Nice. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to load these two fragments on these two containers. Correct? Let us try this out. Okay. Load the two fragments on these two containers. And then we will see how to communicate with fragments. In order to load these fragments, we all know that fragments need a host, right? Fragments usually, not usually, definitely need host, and that host would usually be an activity. Okay, remember that. So on main activity, what I'll do is I'll create two variables, fragment one, and fragment two. It is initialized them. So one is equal to new fragment one, two is equal to new fragment two. Once they are initialized, you can begin the fragment transaction. Okay, fragment fragments can be loaded or can be added, replaced, or removed by fragment manager dot fragment transaction or begin transaction dot that method add or dot remove dot replace. Okay, so this fragment transaction happens through fragment transaction object. So the first thing is to create a fragment method. So we have fragment manager is equal to, so this comes through support library. So you can write get support fragment manager. Next, you can create a fragment transaction. Fragment, or you can simply write manager dot begin transaction dot replace. So what do I want to replace? R dot id dot container one. With what I do need to replace? With fragment one object one. In a similar way, what else do I need to replace? R dot id dot container two. With what I want to replace? With fragment two I want to replace. Finally, you should call commit, otherwise your changes will not be reflected. Very easy thing. I'm just replacing the container one with one fragment, container two with two fragment. Later on, if you want to remove one, you can remove it. Let's say I'm running this application. The device is connected and I'm running the app. Let me also open Visor to show you the output. Both are loaded and you can see the output here. See, both are loaded. When I enter some data here and hit on send data, I want to receive it on fragment 2. Now the agenda is clear, right? Any doubts so far? Guys, any doubts so far? Okay, thanks, Shweta. Cool. So moving on. So as I want to get data or as I want to um, communicate from fragment 1 to fragment 2, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create an interface in the fragment 1. I will call it fragment 1 listener. Simply here I'll create a method. So this is a public interface and I will say send a text to fragment 2. So this is the method I'll create. And in the interfaces, all methods are abstract. You all know that. And what do I want to send? I want to send some text. That is why string text is given as the argument. So on fragment 1, we need to have three variables. One is fragment 1 listener object. I will call it listener. The second one is edit text object. You remember, right? In the edit text box object only, we will type in the text that I want to send. And also you need a button object. Button B. You know that you can initialize edit text and button here, which we already did in the previous example. Edit text is equal to b dot fbb r dot id dot frag one data. Yeah. In the similar way, b is equal to b dot fbb r dot id dot frag one button. Hmm. Now we need to handle the button click. B dot set on click listener, new on click listener. This is quite natural. Now in the on click method, what I would like to do is I'd like to call the listener. I like to send text to fragment 2. Now which text I would to send? Whatever the text that is entered on the text box. So it text dot get text dot to string. However, this listener is not registered. Sorry, this listener is not initialized. If you closely see. What do I want? Hmm, Fragment life cycle. If you jump into fragment life cycle, we can initialize the fragment. If you read it through, there is an information. Mm. As this communication has to happen through this listener, whenever the fragment is attached, like on attach method is there. Okay, it is there. The on attach method, what all we need to do is we should check if the context is an instance of fragment 1. Mm, Fragment 1 listener. If the in context is the instance of fragment 1 listener during the on attach, what we do is we'll initialize this listener. Listener is equal to context. Else, we can show a toast message saying that data initialize or implement the listener. Okay, nice. So, but we have the send text to fragment too, but we do not have anything implemented on this. However, don't worry. On fragment2.java also, we need a few things to tweak. First, create a text view. I'll call it view or TV. Nice. Initialize this TV. How do you initialize this TV? TV is equal to v dot id by id r dot id dot fragment frag to TV. Nice. So I will have another helper method. So there is an helper method I'm going to create. And the method is public void update data, string data, okay, tv dot set text of data. So when you get data out of here, you're just setting the text to data on the text view. Okay, nice. So, but how this fragment one communicates with fragment two? As you remember, both of these are hosted on main activity. Probably, yeah. Here you need to implement fragment one listener. When you implement fragment one listener, you get to see send text to fragment two. Now we can go ahead and call the instance of fragment two and simply update the data on top of it with the help of the data that is sent by fragment one. Let's see if this works. Let us say I have some data. If I hit on send data, I can see the second fragment is receiving it and Pavan is being displayed. What if I change it to Kumar? Okay, something randomly is typed in and it is coming up. I will write Naresh Technologies. I get the same. In the similar way, fragment 2 can also communicate, right? Vice versa. Fragment 2 can also communicate with fragment 1. That can also happen. Shall we also implement it so that you'll get some clarity, some detailed clarity on how to do fragment communication through interfaces? Would you like to add another text box on the fragment 2 and send some data to fragment 1? Guys, can you respond? Okay, thank you, Shweta. If that is the case, we will follow the same process that we employed on fragment 1 and fragment 2 to establish a communication from fragment 1 to fragment 2. Similarly, if you want to communicate from fragment 2, first let's change the design first. Okay. Instead of this, we can go ahead, get a plain text box, add to the design. Oh shit. This is linear layout of orientation vertical. I'm converting it to horizontal. I'm converting it to vertical. So this edit text date is not needed. We just need edit text box, simple edit text box, plain text. Drag it, drop it on this screen. I want to move it forward, like a text box. I have to come. No, a text box has to go onto the top. On this text box, I would like to say, oh, in the fragment, I would like to say, in the ID, I would like to say, frag to ET text box. That is the idea I gave for the text box. I'm removing it and I want to enter the data. So this blank fragment is fragment to TV, right? You can remove it, no problem. For now, no problem. Go to button, add it here. This button also should read some data, right? Send the data to this button should have an ID, and that is button. Nice, no problem. Come back to fragment to edit text TV frag to ET. Okay. You can go to build and hit on clean project. This is not contain declaration of fragment to ET. What happened to this button? What happened to this text box? What's wrong, guys? Okay, touch star it is too small. We can fix it. I'm making height as 50 dips. Mm, text is too wide. Okay. What happened to this button? Why is it in small size? Let's try to run this once and see. Nice, nice. So now our problem must be fixed in on fragment 2. Yeah, this error is also gone. Now connect the button also. Okay, yeah, you can create a button B. This B can also be connected. B is equal to V dot find V by ID R dot ID dot fragment 2 button or fragment 1 button. No, the button is button only. Sorry, button ID is button only. Yeah, button only. So on fragment 2, what we would like to do is we would like to create a listener public interface fragment 2 listener. Okay, we would like to create a method. Sorry, we'd like to implement a method. Send data to to 1. I want to send string data. So string text here. Next, you need to create an on-click event handler on the button only because when the click is happening, you're supposed to send the data. New on-click listener, b dot, sorry, you have the listener. What is the, okay, we did not create a listener object, right? We need to have a listener object. Fragment to listener, I would like to call it as listener only. So from button, what we will do is we will notify the listener and we'll send the data to one. So what data would I like to send? tv dot get text dot to string. Whatever the data entered on text, it text box on the second fragment, that data I'm picking up and sending it through the listener. And when the on attach method is called, we should check if the context is the instance of fragment to listener. And finally, we should write listener is equal to, we are initializing this listener, by the way, the context. Else you can write a toast message or you can leave it, that's okay. On fragment one, what should we do? We should have another method called public void update data, string data. So when there is data, I want to show it on edit text box. So edit text dot set text of data. Now this is not the end of the picture. On main activity, you should also implement another listener, that is fragment to listener. Now you can do alt enter implement method send data to one. And when send data to one is called, when the text is coming in, all we need to do is for the first fragment, you need to update data using this text. I hope we are done. Maybe there are a few glitches, maybe I'm not sure. If it crashes, we'll fix it. Text from fragment one. Fragment one. I hit on send data and I get text from fragment one on the second edit text box. What I'll do is I'll write two here and hit on send data. You get to see that the fragment one text is changing. So this is how two fragments, not only two, any number of fragments can communicate with or communicate among each other. If you take a third fragment also and you want to notify the other two fragments, it is also quite easy just by using interfaces. Interfaces is a common um, interfaces can become a common communication channel for fragments. So I'd like to ask you, like in the last class, I wanted you to try your hands on navigation drawer. Has anyone tried to use it? Has anyone tried to create a navigation drawer? Guys, has anyone tried to use a navigation drawer? Okay, good. So the navigation drawer, when you want to host fragments, you will definitely want to host fragments, right? On the right hand side, you'll get a list of options. And from those options, when you choose it, you are supposed to load a fragment. In that case also, you can write the similar code. Yeah, which one is most commonly used, through bundle or through interface? Usually, it is better if we can do it with interfaces, Alta Pracha. But bundle is also in use, should not deny. It is also in use. But nowadays, people are moving to MVVM architecture, they want to do it. They want to do it through view model. Okay, they want to do it through view model. There are multiple ways, and you can follow any of those ways. Three ways that are there, right? Bundle, which is not so reliable. Interfaces, reliable, can be implemented anywhere. View model, reliable, can be implemented anywhere. So typically, you should know that fragments can communicate using three ways. Among these three ways, you must definitely learn about interfaces and view models. View model, I have already shown it to you for activities, not for fragments though. For activities, I've shown you. There is a concept called shared view model, okay, through which you can communicate with fragment. You can communicate to and fro from fragments. We'll see that tomorrow, how to communicate through a shared view model. If possible, tomorrow I'll also cover this bundle bundle communication. Okay, right. Thank you so much, guys. I'll push this code to GitHub. Try to find it there. All right. The data is on GitHub. Sorry, Bitbucket. All right. Try to access it. Please do practice this. Also, do not leave on that navigation drawer. Try to implement the news application on the navigation drawer. Okay. Each category has to be shown on the left hand side drawer. And when it is tapped, you need to load the data on the fragment. Okay. Try to implement it that way. They'll definitely help you. Right. I'm not going to teach navigation drawer. Please explore. If you have doubts, yes, reach out. I can clear your doubts. But explaining that in a session would take me a lot of time. Okay. Thank you, guys. Good day. Bye bye. Take care. There are 10 more days, Gopi. 10 more days are there to complete the course. Yeah. I'm not rushing, by the way. And nothing, no use, right? If you, anyway, nobody can teach you all 100 concepts. Okay. So why is the need of rushing out through the concepts that we have? Okay. So I'm not rushing. So it will take another 10 days to finish the course. If not 10, at least it will require 7 days to 8 days time. So please note, guys. 7 to 8 days will close the session, but sometimes it may also go to 10 days, 12 days. Yeah, possible. Right. Thanks. Please prepare for at least 1 hour every day. Note this point. Just prepare for 1 hour every day. I know you will get new doubts, new questions. If there are any, feel free to ask. You can also email me. You have my email address. Thanks, guys. Take care. Good day. Bye bye. Happy Monday.